What is going on, everybody? HR Falcons 22 back here again, doing another dip review for you guys, and this time, well, actually, it's more of a dip discourse video again. I was bored this morning in accounting, and I was trying to think of like what I should do for my video and everything, and I was just daydreaming, and someone actually asked me in one of my other videos to do a video on why I think Copenhagen is the best dip out there. So I figured, further rationalizing my addiction, that yes, I would go ahead and tell you why, give you the top 10 reasons why Copenhagen straight is phenomenal, or just Copenhagen in general is the best brand of dip out there, unequivocally, hands down, the best dip that you can get your hands on. So let's go ahead and take a dip, because what kind of dip video would that be if I didn't take a dip? So this can is almost done, and we will do our best to kill it. Fuck, that is about done. That is very much almost done. So, oh my god. Okay, yeah, that's definitely, that's not enough dip. So, what we'll probably have to do is supplement, because of course you get that feeling, you know, when you're like running low on a can and you start to freak out and everything, and then you run and you buy like an emergency can, just the first can that you see you just buy. Well, I bought a can of Skull Peach. So while I tell you about how awesome Copenhagen is, I'm probably going to add a little bit of Skull Peach on top of this. So oh my god. Alright, let me go and grab my can real quick. I'll be right back. There it is. Hey, so a can of Skull Peach that as I said, I picked up earlier today. So let's go ahead and supplement with this, because I thought I was prepared and that I was going to be, you know, have enough dip left and everything. But now I don't have enough dip left. So I'll definitely. But now, oh, we have a new can. We have a new can of Skull Peach. God. People, you almost think I'm just like a crack addict when it comes to dip, because I am, for all intents and purposes. Alright. Perfect. So, now that we've got a very hefty lipper of Skull Peach and Copenhagen straight in, God, I need to quit dipping. Actually, no, that was a joke. I'll probably never stop. I'll be buried with a can, I think. That's what I want to do. Anyways, sorry about that. Top 10 reasons why Copenhagen straight, or Copenhagen in general, is the best brand of dip out there. Number 10, let me pull up my Word document, because of course I'm a fucking loser and I like write all this shit down on Word before it, like, because shit just comes into my mind and then it leaves and then I forget about it, so I write just so much stuff down. Okay, top 10 reasons why Copenhagen is the best tobacco out there. That's actually the title on my Word document. Number 10, Copenhagen is widely available. I have never walked into a gas station and not seen Copenhagen. So the fact that Copenhagen is just such a high quality dip that's so readily available, that puts it a step above in my book, at least. And granted, I mean, Skull's widely available, Grizzly's widely available, you know, all that stuff. But Skull and Grizzly, I would put Skull probably a little bit below Copenhagen, and then Grizzly just fucking like way below Copenhagen. But I mean, they're all readily available, but Copenhagen happens to be the best dip that is widely available. So that's number 10. Number 9, texturally superior to every other brand of dip, and I could not agree more. The texture of Copenhagen is just something that, it's something that you have to experience. If for some reason you're watching my video right now and you're a dipper and you've never dipped Copenhagen, you know, you could blind taste, like you could put cans in front of me and like blindfold me and tell me to like take a dip out of each of them, and even if it was like where I couldn't tell the flavor or something like that, I would be able to tell you which one was Copenhagen and which one was some other brand, because the texture of Copenhagen is just something, it's just something so special. It's like soft and it's packable, but it's like flavorful, and it's almost Copenhagen, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'll sound crazy, but bear with me. When you take a lipper of Copenhagen, you pack your can, right, and then you like get your dip out of your can, right? Copenhagen, like when I've noticed when I have like a dip in my hand and I'm getting ready to throw it in, when I have a little thing of Copenhagen, it like weighs more, and that's because Copenhagen does weigh more. There is more moisture in Copenhagen, that's why. But it's just like Copenhagen's like a finely tuned dagger in Game of Thrones. It's just like perfectly balanced and perfectly weighted in your hand. So the texture definitely is probably one of the most marked aspects of Copenhagen that I just thoroughly enjoy more than any other dip. So that's number 9. And ipso facto, number 8, because of number 9, because Copenhagen does have just such a phenomenal texture, it's going to have the best flavor and the best lasting power out of any dip out there. I've said before in some of my other videos, if you have a dip, or even chew somewhat, if you have a dip that has a very good texture, chances are it's also going to have very good flavor, and that flavor is going to last a really long time. Those are both just some of the things that better texture, that superior texture brings to the table as far as smokeless tobacco is concerned. So that was number 8. Yeah, wow, we're hauling through this right now. Number 7, no filler tobacco. This is probably another great aspect of Copenhagen for me. Because I love America and I don't like filler tobacco. And thanks to someone, I don't remember who it was, but someone finally explained to me, because I had this weird conspiracy theory that like Slender Man, the guy from German folklore, if you've seen that video, that he was like infiltrating the Copenhagen facility and that he was stealing dips out of Copenhagen cans, because you open a can of Copenhagen and it looks like there's a dip already taken out. Someone was nice enough to explain to me on one of my other videos that that's Copenhagen's way. The reason that there's a dip taken out of Copenhagen cans is it's Copenhagen's way of showing that they don't use any filler tobacco, which I mean I can see somewhat. I mean I'm mad that I don't get a full can, but if I get a 98% full can or a 94% full can of really good tobacco, I'd rather have a 94% full can of really good tobacco like Copenhagen than like a 100% full can of fucking like Longhorn or something like that. So I guess that's just kind of the price you pay for, you know, dip in Copenhagen. So that's that, no filler tobacco. Number 6, Chris Ledoux wrote a song about it, so obviously it has to be pretty freaking good. Number 5, Cope is the only brand that commands respect from other dippers. And I will, actually this kind of worked out, allow me to present. So say you and I just met on the street somewhere, I don't fucking know, for some reason we just meet up on the street. Like I'm in your town or you're in Columbia, South Carolina, and I just like see you around. And we're with a group of like other dippers. Chances are, so scenario number 1. Oh, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, you want to lip? You want to lip with that? All right, cool. You are automatically thinking in your head, when I produce this, a can of Copenhagen, you're like, holy shit, this dude knows what's up. He's really like acquainted with tobacco and everything. He must be a real fucking good man. And I would think the same of you. Whereas if you were like, hey man, yeah, like you want to take a dip? I've got this, Skull Peach. I would just be like, what? Like, I mean, I would take a dip, like, don't get me wrong, but still, I would probably question your sexuality somewhat. But, I mean, peach is good, don't get me wrong. It's far from the, like, most homosexual flavor that you can get. That award probably goes to Skull Berry. Peach is actually really good. I like it. So imagine that this is a Skull Berry can and not a peach can. But Copenhagen, it's just one of those things. Like, if you're a dipper, you know what I'm talking about. If someone pulls out a can of Copenhagen, like, straight or long cut, or even Copenhagen wintergreen, I guess, you're automatically just like, okay, like, this dude's either A, been dipping for a while, or he's just, like, a man's man. Like, he's cool to hang out with and everything. Whereas if someone pulls out a can of, like, Skull Berry or something like that, you're probably just like, okay. And then if someone pulls out a can of Grizzly Wintergreen, you probably should automatically assume that they're on bath salts and you should get away from them. Yeah, so Only brand that commands respect from other dippers. Number 4, authenticity and unadulterated smokeless tobacco. When I take a dip of Copenhagen, I feel like I'm experiencing smokeless tobacco the way it was meant to be. And granted, I do like Skull Peach and everything, but when I took this dip of, because there's way more peach in my lip right now than Copenhagen Straight, and even already I can tell that when I throw in something that's not Copenhagen, I feel like I'm throwing in really, truly, like, chemicals into my lip. Whereas, like, Copenhagen, granted, yes, there are chemicals in Copenhagen. There's chemicals in every brand of smokeless tobacco out there. But, and maybe it's just marketing or just the reputation that Copenhagen has, I guess. When I throw in a dip of Copenhagen, I'm like, this is, like, organic and, like, natural and everything. At least that's, like, the image that gets conjured up in my mind. So, unadulterated smokeless tobacco. That's why Copenhagen is great. Number 3, and this is like deeply philosophical and everything. Sorry, got to adjust it real quick. Okay, so number 3. Some of the, and this is obviously just like very, it's probably people who watch these videos and they're like, wow, you're so addicted or whatever. This is probably going to be a big, like, throwing a bone to you guys. Some of the best times in my life have come with either a can of Copenhagen in my pocket or a dip of Copenhagen in my lip. Perfect example, I will tell you guys really quick the story of the best dip I ever took, and feel free to leave in the comment section below a story or a brief synopsis of your best dip that you ever took. My best dip that I ever took was this past winter break, and me and my friends went up to my buddy Connor's mountain house in Breckenridge, and so we like had girls up there. It was like crazy time, like we were all just having the time of our lives. And it was, what, a Saturday? Yeah, it was a Saturday night. That Saturday night was just ridiculous. I don't even remember anything from about 12:30 on. But apparently, my friends tell me that we were having a very good time. And I went to go pass out around like probably 2, 3 in the morning or something like that. And I got up probably like 45 minutes after I had fallen asleep. And I guess, I don't remember any of this, but I just dropped my pants and urinated all over my friend's coffee table, went back to sleep. So I woke up in the morning, and everybody was telling me that I'd pissed all over a coffee table, and I didn't believe them. But the kicker was I had to get my Marine friend Mick back into Denver because he was doing recruiter's assistance that day. And recruiter's assistance is pretty much in the Marines where you go to like high schools and you go to, you know, shopping malls and everything, and you try and get, you know, as Mick says, I try and get other dumbasses to sign up for the Marines. So I had to get him back to Denver, and we walk into the Starbucks. We stop in Breckenridge for Starbucks because we're both just like, ugh, like I can't even do this anymore. I'm wearing my Carhartt, a cutoff underneath my Carhartt, athletic shorts, mid-calf athletic socks, and my Sorel snow boots. So I look like I'm insane. So I buy coffee, and we get on the road. We're headed back into Denver. And this was like right as the sun was coming up that we got on the highway and everything. So lo and behold, about 20 minutes into the drive, I took a dip. And it was Copenhagen long cut. And just driving that highway through some of the smaller mountain towns in outside of Denver and everything, and coming up over Lookout Ridge, like Lookout Mountain and everything, and seeing the sunrise and enjoying the wonderful buzz that I was getting from my dip and enjoying the lovely conversation that I'd always have with Mick. Everything, it was just like a perfect storm to make the best dip ever, and just that, and there was nobody on the road, so that drive was just like incredible. It was so awesome. So that, I mean, that pretty much explains that number 3, I guess. And you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, for some reason, at least I do, like, I associate Copenhagen with good times for that reason. I also probably love Copenhagen, and I'm a little bit biased here, because my dad dips Copenhagen, and for some reason, like, you'll probably know what I'm talking about subconsciously. Like, I love my dad. My dad's a great fucking man. and he dips Copenhagen. So naturally, I would want to emulate him, being my role model and everything. I would also want to dip Copenhagen, and so he thinks Copenhagen is the best, and he's a pretty fucking smart dude. So obviously, like, Copenhagen must be pretty good. So that's number 3. Number 2, the moisture level in Copenhagen. More than any other dip, Copenhagen is literally it's the most moist brand of smokeless tobacco that you can get. And moisture is mainly a product of, number 1, its amazing texture, and number 2, because it's finer grade tobacco. It's just like very good tobacco. And I remember the first time, it was like right after I turned 18, and I went to go pick up like my very first can of like legal Copenhagen, and I remember like showing the gas station attendant my ID and everything. I was so excited. And I picked up a can of Copenhagen Straight, and I opened it up, and I went to go take a dip out of it, and it was literally like a soaking rag. Like, that's how moist it was, and it was phenomenal. And I just remember that was one of the main things that I noticed about Copenhagen over any other type of dip when I like really started dipping, probably like freshman year of high school, roughly. But for some reason I didn't notice it until I bought my own can, like, legally. So moisture level, that's definitely a good thing about Copenhagen. All right, and number 1, the best thing about Copenhagen, the buzz. Copenhagen is, for some reason, it just gives you a better buzz than any other dip out there. I'm noticing even now that, like, with this, hefty lipper of Skull Peach and even a little bit of Copenhagen Straight, and I'm noticing that, and it's general. It happens every time I dip Skull, every time I dip anything that's not Copenhagen. You get more of a head buzz, and it's a buzz that doesn't really it's a buzz that drags you down almost more than picks you up. Whereas if I had a lip of just pure Copenhagen in, it would be a buzz that like is a whole body buzz, and it just makes you want to like get up and do shit. So the buzz from Copenhagen is probably the best, the most redeeming factor about Copenhagen as smokeless tobacco in general. So that's number 1. And that about does it for the top 10 reasons why Copenhagen is the best tobacco out there. I also came up with, I was thinking about just other stuff to talk about and everything. And I settled upon, I came up with 5 prototypes of the 5 types of dippers that we all know. Maybe we love them, maybe we hate them, but I think I managed to distill the entire demographic of smokeless tobacco users into 5 main categories. So we'll go ahead and start with number 1. Number 1, the first type of dipper that we all know is the mooch dipper. The mooch dipper is the guy that, well, he's just always bumming lips off of you constantly, and he never reciprocates. The mooch dipper is the guy that like leaves his spitters around everywhere and bums dips from you, doesn't bum you a dip back or whatever. So everybody knows a mooch dipper. Number 2, the opposite of the mooch dipper, the good guy Greg dipper. If you're familiar at all with internet memes, Good Guy Greg is an internet meme sensation, and it's pretty much just this guy, Good Guy Greg, who is like the best friend ever. He's just like a really chill dude. He's always willing to help you out. That applies to dippers also. The Good Guy Greg dipper is the dipper that will call you and be like, hey man, you want to hang out? Yeah, I'm on my way to the gas station right now. Do you want a can? And he'll just buy you a can, period. And he's a really good guy, really chill to hang out with, even if you're not dipping. Good Guy Greg dipper is just a cool dude in general, and he's always willing to bum you a lip. And he doesn't ask for anything in return. Good Guy Greg doesn't ask for anything in return because that would be rude. And Good Guy Greg is just such a good guy and such a good dip friend to have that he will literally do anything for you as far as like getting you smokeless tobacco is concerned. So that's number 2. Number 3, this we all know this dipper, the pseudo dipper. Everybody knows the pseudo dipper, and the pseudo dipper is the guy that like he hangs out at like parties, or like maybe he's one of your friends or something, and he's like, yeah guys, yeah, me too. This is the pseudo dipper. Or, actually, no, the pseudo dipper would do this. And that would be the pseudo dipper. This is the guy that claims to dip, but he doesn't really dip. And if he does dip, he dips very, very sparingly. And I knew a pseudo dipper. He was one of my residents on my hall. And the first 2 weeks of school, I was out of dip, and I was like running around my hall trying to see if any of my residents had a dip for me. And Stu had a dip for me. The pseudo dipper had a dip for me. And it was a like skull cherry or something like that. So I took a lipper from him and then just gave him his can back. Well, like 2 weeks later, I asked him to bum another dip, and he literally gave me the same exact can of skull cherry that I had taken a dip out of like 2 weeks prior. Implying that he doesn't really dip that much, but he just like carries a can around to like look sick and everything. So that's the pseudo dipper. Number 4, the loco dipper. Everybody knows the loco dipper. Sometimes the loco dipper and the mooch dipper are combined into this personality, this dipping personality that you just don't want to be around because he's a mooch and he's just crazy as shit. Like, as I said before, if the loco dipper can usually be found dipping grizzly wintergreen, he usually hangs out with or is the mooch dipper. And he's just like crazy. He's the guy that like he'll take a dip and like you guys will be out somewhere like at a party and he'll just you're uncomfortable around him. Like you start sweating around him because you don't know what he's gonna do because he's just unpredictable and crazy. So that's the loco dipper. And last, but certainly not least, the seasoned vet dipper. The seasoned vet dipper is usually your best friend if you're also a seasoned vet dipper. And the seasoned vet dipper is just very introspective. He's a really chill guy normally. And he's just one of those guys that either you can take a dip with him and then have a lengthy discussion about anything from philosophy to girls to dip, or you can just watch episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia like me and Mick do. The seasoned vet dipper is just one of those guys. He normally sticks to Copenhagen, and he knows the code of dippers. He'll always bum you a dip as long as you're willing to reciprocate and bum him a dip, and it's just mutually understood that you metaphorically have each other's backs when it comes to provisions of smokeless tobacco. So the seasoned vet dipper, everybody wants to be the seasoned vet dipper because he's just like a really cool, badass dude who happens to dip. So that's the 5 types of dippers that we all know, and maybe you love them like Good Guy Greg or the seasoned vet dipper, and maybe you hate them like the mooch dipper, the pseudo dipper, and the loco dipper. But keep that in mind. Next time you're out with your friends, try and figure out who is what dipper, and maybe you're the seasoned vet dipper and your friend or whatever is a mooch dipper, and label him as such, because mooch dippers will only be mooch dippers as long as they're allowed to be. So if you just call him out and be like, hey man, I'm really sick of you like bumming lips from me and everything, then he'll probably chill out and start being a cool person. So those are the 5 types of dippers, and that about wraps it up for the review. Well, not really the review, but the top 10 reasons why I think Copenhagen is the best tobacco out there, and the 5 dippers that we all know. So I will be coming back and doing another video probably shortly, and I don't even know what I'm going to review next. I'll probably try and find the Stoker's Wintergreen, but I do have a lady friend coming over in not too long, so I better, I don't know, clean this place up and like get my spitters out of here or whatever, but I'm not sure she cares, so hopefully she doesn't care. I really haven't hung out with her before. So wish me luck. Thank you guys for watching. Take it easy.